focus very much on what happens this week with Brexit. Would you back any deal Boris Johnson gets if he gets one?
Well, I hope you won't mind me first saying that this was a centre-ground Queen's speech. I'm very pleased that it was. It does very important things like guarantee citizens' rights in any circumstances. It's open, it's tolerant, it's outward-looking, and I'm very pleased with that Queen's speech. But you're asking me about the deal. Until there is a deal to be seen, I can't give you the answer, I'm afraid. I know it's driving journalists mad, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the text of a deal that's been agreed. We're very open to voting for a tolerable deal, and I just really hope the EU delivers that tolerable deal, working with a great Prime Minister to get it.
On the basis, though, that Boris Johnson was one of those leading the Brexit charge, would you not trust him to get a deal that would actually suit what you would like to see?
I have every expectation that Boris Johnson's going to get a Brexit deal which I'll be able to vote for. But again, I say that until we see the text, we can't tell you what we're going to be doing. But of course, I rely on Boris Johnson to deliver a Brexit worth having. And if he delivers a Brexit worth having, I'll be glad to vote for it. So that's where we are. But then we need to get on, of course, to our other priorities. And I think that this Queen's speech really set those out brilliantly, in particular in relation to justice and to the health service. It puts us squarely on the centre ground territory that the public want us to be on.
Isn't it a case of this deal or no Brexit? Is the only way, if there is a deal, to keep that 31st of October pledge?
Well, look, most of us, including me, overwhelmingly want a deal. We want to exit into a set of relationships of the character the EU set out to us in March last year. The question is how we get there. And we've got to be capable of getting there through a withdrawal agreement. And the problem with the previous withdrawal agreement is that it was capable of leaving us trapped in a kind of regulatory orbit of the EU, a declining satellite of the EU, giving us no benefits from leaving. So it was totally unacceptable. Boris has had a dramatic shift towards a free trade agreement that would leave us a self-governing nation. So now really the devil is in the detail. We're looking forward to seeing the speech. We know the EU has been constructive, although some of the briefing has been unhelpful. And I'm really looking forward to being able to vote for a tolerable deal. But as I say, until we get the text, I can't tell you what we're going to do.
What would you do if Boris Johnson said, we're almost at the point of getting a deal, but we're not going to do it by the 31st of October, so we will agree an extension?
Well, that, of course, is a hugely speculative question that totally cuts across the promises that Boris has made. He's absolutely clear that we're leaving on the 31st, with or without a deal, do or die. So, I'm backing him to do that. But if Parliament comes together around a tolerable deal, legislates it
sorry, to come back, because you're going into a point that you've made a few times there, and I do just want to focus actually on
it was a new point, but
with the prospects of an extension, because you say it's hugely speculative. It's not really, because we're in the territory where there is very little time to do a deal, and one unnamed senior EU diplomat has said you don't reinvent the wheel in 5 days. We are still looking at an extension. Even if there is the best will in the world and all the minds are on the same page, they may not get it done. If it were a case of a small extension to get something done, would you support that?
I'm sorry, that was very much the point I was about to make.
Right.
Once there is a deal, if Parliament is willing to legislate for it with the energy, the alacrity that was used to ram through the unconstitutional Benn Act, the Surrender Act, well, if Parliament's willing to legislate at speed, then we'll be able to get it done. But, of course, the pressure is on everybody.
That wasn't the point I was making. The point I was making was if a deal isn't quite there, but Boris Johnson says we do believe there is the will and we can do it. We may just need a little bit longer to get it done. Would you support that?
So, of course, I came on to talk about the Queen's speech, and you're asking me questions which we've gone to and fro over now for, it feels like weeks, it feels like months and years. I'm backing Boris Johnson to get us out on the 31st, do or die, which is what he's said. You can ask me other speculative questions many times as you wish, but that's the position.
OK. Steve Baker, thank you very much.
Thank you.